Guys, welcome back for another episode of Steaks with Mates. I'm your host, Health Coach Joff, and I'm joined by the one and only Scotty Brizzle, the Carnivore Comedian. So, Scotty, he's been in the scene for quite some time. I actually remember you in an interview with Dr. Chafee.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago now. Hey, that was quite some time ago. That was actually the first podcast in the carnivore space that I'd done since going carnivore with Simon Lewis at How to Carnivore and Dr. Chafee. And man, that I thought that was insane. Talking to one of the big dogs and learning so much from that guy, because how much has both Simon and Dr. Chafee done so much for this community and getting the word out. So it was I still see it as such an honor. I got to chat with those guys. So.
Man, dude, I do remember clearly, because I'm like, you got comedians fucking talking about the carnivore diet. Now we're making moves, and now here we are. We've got RFK talking. He's used the word carnivore out there, and I think the future is looking bright. And mate, I just want to say thank you for jumping on the show. It's an honor.
Man, my pleasure. I love what you're doing, Joff, and I'm glad that you could have me on. I always love having a chat about all this sort of stuff. So any reason to talk about carnivore, I am in. So let's go, bro.
Let's go. Well, look, let's get straight into, sort of your journey into this. Let's pinpoint a time when this all started. You can go back as far as you want, really. But how did you all come to this conclusion that eating meat is good for you?
Yeah, right. It still seems so funny when you say it too. Like eating only meat is what healed you. It just seems like it's too easy. Surely not. It sounds so bizarre, but it's what worked, man. I won't go too far back. I could go back as far as my birth and the complications with birth and that I had there, and being preemie and all this sort of stuff. So I think I was just sort of out of the starting gates. I had a few health issues going on, but grew up on a standard Australian processed food diet. My parents obviously did the best they could with the education they had, but I remember just growing up eating crap, and that was normal to me. And examples like I would rock up to sport, basketball at school, and I'd have a 1.5 litre bottle of Coke rather than a bowl of water. And I remember the coach looking at me being like, "Are you serious, kid?" And I didn't understand. I'm like, what's this guy's problem? And it was just that was normal. That was the normal for me. And I feel like there's only so long you can live like that for. The big thing that got me, it wasn't like these health issues that came my way, because I was pretty much eating anything I wanted and I was fine. Yeah. I was a fat kid. I was an overweight kid. I lost that weight coming into my teenage years, skateboarding, and I started smoking weed and all this sort of stuff, and that brought my weight down. And but it wasn't until I started dabbling in, I guess, a more spiritual side of things. I got deep into Buddhism and into psychedelics. So I was doing all these sorts of things that was bringing me closer and closer to the rhythms of Mother Nature, and bringing me close to spirit and soul, and being curious about the world and questioning things that we're brought up believing. But I went the plant-based route. I was under the impression of that red meat would eventually cause colorectal cancer and give you high cholesterol. And because my dad was on statins, and my grandfather, his dad, died of a heart attack, there's all these sorts of things that sort of played into my mind of like, oh, yeah, you don't eat red meat very often. Cut to now, I'm eating it. That's all I eat. But before we get there, and so I just went down this plant-based route. I still eat meat, but big salads, spinach, kale, like just leafy greens, all these sorts of things, fermented foods, all these kinds of things were my go-to. And the naturopath route, I was doing a lot of supplements and stuff, and I got big into biohacking. And so supplement stacks of whether it's berberine with resveratrol, with nicotinamide riboside mixed with bitter melon extract, all these different things I would just stack to become the best, person I could be, really, and have the best health. But through all of this, I actually started getting worse. I developed more symptoms over the years and gut issues. I had a lot of gut issues, skin issues, joint problems, mental health problems, and you're doing what you think is right to help yourself and to alleviate these symptoms, but it sort of just kept getting worse. And then it got to a point where basically, the thing that triggered it all, because my gut was already destroyed, I was at this food festival and I got tricked into eating this chicken wing that had the 3 hottest chilies in the world. Carolina Reaper, Scorpion. Yeah. And so I ate it and then had the experience. It was wild. And it basically that night, I feel like it just stripped my gut of everything. Like I didn't sleep. It was the worst pain I've been in. And since that night, it was all over. Everything I could eat previously, like your avocado on toast or my bowl of granola with yogurt and whatever on top, and I couldn't tolerate any of this food. And so I just went into chaos. The rug was lifted underneath me and I was just sort of floating in this world of chaos of what has happened. I can't eat anything. I've got an intolerance, a food sensitivity to basically everything I've ever eaten. Man, it just got to a point where I heard about these stories of I heard Dr. Sean Baker talking about this, but that was more of like an athletic point of view. Yeah. The one that done it for me was Michaela Peterson, where she talked about a lot of her issues, and that sort of pricked my ears up, and I started going deeper into, her autoimmune issues that she experienced was similar to my autoimmune issues. Not as bad as her, getting hip and ankles replaced, all that kind of stuff. I didn't have rheumatoid arthritis, but just a lot of mystery gut, joint, skin issues. And it took me a long time to do carnivore because I was such a foodie. I didn't want to not go without my pizza and Mexican food and Italian food and all this sort of carbohydrates, sugars. Yeah, man. And, living off pastries and brownies and all this kind of stuff. I just didn't want to let go of that. But I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And eventually I was forced to make this choice. And here I was thinking, I'll do carnivore for a week or 2 and that should resolve everything, so I did it for a week and then got off it and nothing changed, got sick again, da-da-da-da-da. And then it got to a point where I'm like, look, I'm just going to have to try this for a month. And I got a month in and I'm like, wow, I actually feel a lot better. And I think I can keep going because you get past the cravings and all that and you miss all these foods and whatnot. That all eventually disappears. So you're like, well, I'm in it now. So let's try and go for 3 months. And then that was it. 3 months, I was going to be done. Meat only. Basically lion diet style, mainly just beef, salt, water kind of deal. And so I got 3 months in and I thought, okay, yep, I've done it. I'll treat myself. I had 2 pieces of sushi with avocado and I had a coconut water. That next day, man, gut flared up. My joints were in pain. My skin reacted. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer. And then I kept going. And then here we are almost 3 years later doing this carnivore way of eating. And I actually have a reference point of what health is and all my gut issues alleviated, my skin cleared up, my joints, because I had a bone disorder when I was born as well. So that helps that with, quite significantly. And I was like, wow, this is what normal people feel. I can do it. And then here everyone else is telling me that, dude, you're going to die because you only eat meat. It's like, this is unhealthy. And I'm like, why is it the best I've ever felt in my life? What are you talking about? You weren't worried when I was eating all this bullshit, but here I am eating only meat, salt, and fat, and you're worried that I'm going to have a heart attack and die of colorectal cancer. It was nuts, man. So anyway, that's what got me to where I am today.
Wow. So the people around you were skeptic and you still went ahead. Yeah, you still went ahead and Yeah.
And because the area that I live in, it's a very sort of heavily plant-based, animal sort of active. And I appreciate and I respect the idea surrounding it, but I think it's just a lack of, I think it's just ignorance where that all comes from because, man, none of us get out of this alive. And unfortunately, something has to die for us to live, which is a pretty wild thing, you know, when you just come into this world and that's one of the rules of the game. But so it was quite interesting having a lot of people around me be like, who is this weirdo eating only meat when we've only got vegans and vegetarians, you know, heavily populated in the area?
I'll edit this out, bro, but can I take a stab where you are right now?
Go for it.
You Byron Bay?
Oh, bro. So I live about, half hour up the road in Lismore, which is just up the road to Byron, bro. So it's basically it's the same sort of vibes, except it's more intensified here in a smaller country town, which is interesting.
Oh shit, man! I had a feeling, brother. So every time we go down a road trip, you just know you are in that region, Byron Bay, Lismore area, just by the amount of all right, these guys are the amount of vegan shops, man. I'm like, wow. Very plant-based here. Yep. So,
very plant-based. And you'll notice on a lot of stop signs, it will say stop, and then there's a sticker of eating animals underneath it. So you see that a lot. You see that a lot everywhere. But also, bro, over the years, I've watched so many. Hey, I used to work at a plant-based cafe, just to put that out there. I've watched so many plant-based cafes and eateries, restaurants close because I think things are changing, man.
Yeah. No, they are. Actually, speaking of change, this is the first for me. Went to my local IGA, local shopping center, a grocery store here in Australia, and I saw on the shelves a biltong packet that said carnivore friendly. I looked in the back. I mean, it wasn't. Carnivore friendly.
Yeah.
But that was a first for me. I'd never seen anything advertised in any, mainstream or, a chain of supermarkets, something that was carnivore. That was the first for me. So again, it's just I think we are in the right direction right now and people are waking the fuck up. They are. They're really
It's gaining momentum, bro. Like when I started this a few years ago doing carnivore, like it wasn't early days. Many people were doing it before that, but it was just talking about it was so bizarre for people to listen to. They just couldn't comprehend and they couldn't believe that you were doing such an idiotic sort of thing. But now the word's got out and a lot of people are doing this and alleviating the symptoms, fixing their long-term health issues. And you can't deny that, sure, we might not have all these RCTs everywhere, but we've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people with their anecdotal experiences. And it's like, there's just no more denying it. There's no more denying it.
I hope you're enjoying the episode so far, but before we get back into it, I really want to talk about something I think is very important for health and longevity, and it's about adult stem cells. Did you know that adult stem cells are essential for the repair and renew of damaged and old cells in your body? But here's the catch. As you age, the number of adult stem cells in your circulation decreases. By age of 35, your natural release of adult stem cells can drop up to 45%. By 50, it can drop as much as 50%. And by 65, it can plummet by up to 90%. Fortunately though, there is a solution. There is a product out there in the market that naturally increases the amount of adult stem cells that circulate in your bloodstream. It's by a company called Cerule, and the magical product is called Stem Enhance Ultra. There's also a bunch of amazing products that Cerule offer that help with the migration of adult stem cells. Now, to check this out for yourself, go click the link below that I'll provide in the video description. And I should also note that you can get your products for free. So check it out. And with that, let's get back to the show. No, it's very hard to ignore. I mean, how do you, we're already, really debunking without it's just easy to debunk. Like you get into conversations with people, and they automatically just, oh well, I still couldn't do that, but you make a good point. Like you talk about the cholesterol thing, you know, you bring up how vital and important it is for your health and the actual functions, like what cholesterol does. And, you know, it gets the head spinning. So, but hang on, didn't we get told by, you know, doctors that it's supposed to clog your arteries? And you can honestly keep going on in conversation, but, you know, the beauty of what I see in this whole carnivore movement is that no one is forcing anything onto people. We're all just saying, hey, this is what happened to me. It works, and you've got experts talking about it. Here, take with it whatever you want. You know, if you want to do it, you do you. If not, it's all good. But we're not going to stop the message, right? And that's quite the opposite of what we've seen in recent times. Let's put it at that.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. Most definitely. It takes people just hearing about the potential of this and then realizing I can experiment with this. I can give this a go. I can eat only meat for a couple of weeks, and then actually feel, like I said before, that reference point of how good you can feel, and that's all it takes. And the biggest skeptics, man, like I know plenty of people that thought it was bullshit, but they did it out of spite to almost like try it, and then they seen the benefits of it, and they're like, holy shit, there is something going on here. And then all we need to do in looking at this as in the grand scheme of things is go back to certain points in history and see where it all changed, you know. And there's things like Ansel Keys' diet heart hypothesis, and then where that kicked off the red meat or cholesterol, high fat causes heart disease. And you can see where that all began. Or you can go back to the Seventh-day Adventists, who were heavily plant-based, and eating meat was seen as evil because it gave you libido and sexual desire, which is seen as a bad thing. And you can look back on all these points throughout history, because this is the beauty of living in this day and age. We can talk to ChatGPT, we can Google things and say, tell me about such and such, and it gives us the full lowdown. It's never been a better time to figure this stuff out. But you can see that it's all come from either religious ideology or making the money. That's where it all comes down to, basically. Well,
absolutely right. And, without the money, you don't have the studies that tell you cholesterol's bad, fiber's good. You know, you need all this money to fund these organizations that hold power, that tell you what you need to eat, what you need to do to live. And it's crazy, man. But really want to get into this, bro. One of the big things that people like when you're a very prominent figure in the carnivore space. I like to say that anyway. And the reason why is that on your Instagram, bro, you do these videos in your groceries and your shopping centers, like Coles or Woolworths. What got you into that, bro? Because that is gold, man. That is gold. And have you ever been caught out? Like, do they come and actually approach you?
Well, so I've been making content surrounding. I've always made videos. So coming from a comedic background, I'd make comedy skits. So 10 years ago, I was making comedy skits and chucking them on social media just to try and make people laugh. And then a few years ago, I got to the point where back when I was doing more of an animal-based approach, because I tried that before I went carnivore. So when I was doing the fruit, honey, raw dairy and meat, all these things into one, I was making videos back then before I went strict to carnivore. And so I love just to talk about all this stuff, the bullshit surrounding the dangers of high fats and why it's ridiculous to say red meat's going to kill you. And I'll make videos surrounding that. And so I've done that for quite some time. And you know, the years went on and it got to a point, I think it was only maybe last year or the year before, I can't remember, but I just had a moment where I'm like, man, I want to get out amongst it, because I was doing these journalistic videos of investigative journalist sort of videos when the Lismore floods were happening.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah.
I seen the videos, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, because the media was sort of like just spinning the yarn, talking a lot of shit. And so I thought I'd get down there and I would just film what was happening in the town after the flood, the aftermath and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And these videos caught on and they ended up getting, you know, hundreds of thousands of views. And I loved that. I loved being on the ground. I loved asking people questions. I loved, you know, bringing people along with me to let's investigate this. Let's figure this out. And I thought, you know what, I love making these videos in my bedroom here. That's great, but I want to get amongst it again. And so I just decided to hit the supermarket, and I'm pretty sure the first one was on the 5-star health rating system.
Yes.
And so I just went around showing the absurdity of canola oil is 5 out of 5 and butter is 1 or 2 or whatever the hell it was. And so I that's what really sort of kicked things off, and that got circulated pretty well. And I thought, okay, there's something in this, and that felt good. So I'm just going to keep sort of going. And I just went back and I started talking about all different kinds of things, whether it was the microwavable meals and what was actually in them, or, you know, oh man, I can't. I've talked about basically everything you possibly can. The health food aisle, like so many different things, checking the backs of healthy products and seeing it's full of seed oils and that. And,
Honey was your recent one. Honey was. Honey,
the adulteration of honey in the Australian market is actually quite corrupt, and so we're not getting this pure honey, and that opened up a can of worms. And I called out Capilano.
Capilano, yeah.
Yeah, I called out Capilano just on this old study. That was back in the day, but it still showed that they were, you know, being a bit dodgy. And then they actually messaged me and they were saying I was spreading misinformation and it's dangerous information and that, and they wanted to talk to me. And I just left it. But I had all these like local, there was a page called Save the Bees, and I started interacting with those guys, and they were giving me the lowdown on corruption and how actually deep it goes in the honey industry. And so I was like, what the hell? So I'm making all these sorts of videos, and then I had bigger names like Eddie Abu. I don't know if a lot of people know Eddie Abu. Yeah. Yeah, and he started sharing my stuff, and I started collabing with certain videos with him, and it just started to get out there more and more. So I just kept sort of banging on this grocery food, but also touching on blue lights and all these sorts of things. Anything that sort of affects our overall health, whether that's our light environment or our food environment or whatever it is. All these things that are basically impacting mitochondrial health is my interest. And man, it's kept going, and here we are, and ideas just keep coming, and I keep going to the supermarket and filming these videos. But to your second question, I have not been kicked out. I feel like I've figured out I've got an etiquette to it, bro. I do it politely. So if I'm in the supermarket and I'm calling out plant-based milks and I'm here talking shit about soy milk or whatever it is, if somebody comes into the aisle and they're coming to get their soy milk, I'll put it down, or I'll just keep looking at it, pretending I'm looking at the product, and then I'll wait till they go, and then I'll get back into it again. I try not to, if there's people in my immediate space, I'll try not to, go ham and talk shit and all this sort of stuff. And but also the staff members. Staff members are usually pretty cool, and I've had a few that might eye me off at the end of the aisle just to be like, what is this guy doing? What's he's talking into his phone. He's standing in front of the baby formula, talking about baby formula, and like, what is this guy doing? And then they might walk by me and just listen in, and I'll be just like, hi there, g'day, yep. and then that's it. And that's as far as it goes. But I do mix it up and go to different ones.
Yeah.
So that might make it a bit easier. So I haven't been kicked out yet, but I hope it does happen because it will make some great content.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll get kicked out if you do it at a bottle or something like that.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool, bro. Because I think what you're doing is it's sort of like a bit of a rebellious sort of a move, and it's sort of empowering to people. These because they need to hear this. I reckon they do. Like the supermarkets, they need to hear this. But obviously, we know what the priorities are.
Yeah.
For their market, but I think it's what we need in this community. I think we really do just need people standing up and taking a voice. And you're definitely one of those people, man. I think people need to, not necessarily do exactly what you're doing, but along the lines of we've got to actually put a stamp out there and just say, hey, this is what's really happening. And I like how you used your term where you're on the ground running and you're just being at the front of it. And I think that's what people are starting to do. So
I think it's important, man. I think it's important. The more we talk about it, obviously the better, but just bringing awareness. The amount of comments I get on these videos that say, oh, I just had no idea about this. And it's countless people saying that. Like I put up one yesterday on the light flicker that is in the fluorescent and LED bulbs in places like Kmart and Big W and that.
Yeah.
And the impact of this light flicker can have on us, on our body and our nervous system, even though our eyes can't pick up on it. But when you're filming with the camera picks up on it. And so I made a video about that, and people were like, I was wondering why I felt like shit every time I went to the shopping center or the supermarket, under those harsh artificial LED lights that are just flickering on and off like 50 to 60 times a second, while you've also got isolated blue light paired with that beaming down. People don't know about this sort of stuff. Like it's I think food's a lot more accessible, but then to start talking about light and the light spectrum and why it's important to get sun and why you should avoid artificial light, especially at night, I think people just don't know this sort of stuff. And so when you bring this up, bring that awareness about, people are like, oh my God, thank you for talking about this. And even if it's just one person, it's all worth it. All worth it.
It is worth it. Absolutely. And I really like talking about the other aspects of human health apart from, I know that Carnivore plays a big part in social media because it's trending, but we need to make, put a sample on these things too and get people aware of, light exposure, EMFs, how did you sort of get into that space as well? Did it just sort of fall naturally as you were looking at Carnivore? Or?
Yeah, following the breadcrumbs, bro. Honestly, it just popped up naturally. You hear about all these like amazing influencers and doctors that are talking about carnivore, and then they might talk something about circadian rhythm or something, and then you'll hear this guy talking about that, and then you just start to follow these different people. Then all of a sudden you're listening to you're 12 hours into a Jack Cruz bloody podcast, and you can't believe what you're hearing. And that for when I started Carnivore, I thought Carnivore was just the be all and end all, but then I realized it's just a little piece to the puzzle,
right?
And the puzzle is our overall health. And, you got diet as a part of it. Our light environment is a part of that. Things like grounding and getting electrons into your body is a part of that. Avoiding EMFs the best you can is a part of that. All these certain things, it creates a full puzzle. It creates a full picture that is our health. And I think as long as you keep scratching at it and you go deeper down that rabbit hole, all these things pop up. Because I remember hearing about EMFs and thinking, oh, what a load of hippie bullshit. But then you get a smart person like Tristan Scott that breaks down what EMFs are and the impact it has. even like things like your phone to your laptops to your Wi-Fi router to 5G. And then you talk about 5G and people are like, what the hell is this crazy guy talking about?
Yeah, conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, but we're all just we're electrical beings. We've all and that's what we can. So if we can see it on a cellular level and see that it comes down to frequency, it's a no-brainer that this stuff is affecting us. So. But man, I think it's all part and parcel of just doing. It all goes back to what our ancestors were doing. If our ancestors weren't doing it, it's probably not good for our biology, And it's not always that cut and dry and black and white, but man, sunshine, grounding, light cues throughout the day, whether that's sunrise or UVA, UVB or sunset, whatever it is. Avoiding, maybe turning your Wi-Fi off at night. All these little things, it all adds up, and it's like, well, that's how our ancestors were living, you know, and that's what it comes down to. And and I think carnivore is, like you said, it's the trending thing. So that's sort of the thing that's spearheading, and that's like almost at the top of the leaderboard, and that's what's catching people's attentions. But I think naturally, if you keep looking into all this stuff's going to come out. You're going to learn about your circadian rhythm. You're going to learn about, mitochondria, and it's just going to keep going deeper and deeper.
Yeah. I think carnivore sets the stage because what people learn is that your body actually knows what it needs to do when it just gets the right food. And then from there, you start to spiral into, well, what else in my life have I been doing wrong? Yeah. And
you realize the journey doesn't end either. Like it's to reach optimal. Oh man, you can just keep going, because basically the modern day lifestyle will never live that perfect life unless you tap out and all this sort of stuff. But who wants to do that? And so I think like we can't let perfect be the enemy of good enough, but also to realize like optimal, man, that's a forever that's a stretch. That's a long way to go, to be at your best. And which I love. I love the chase. I love the chase.
Absolutely. Yeah, it shouldn't end, and it should never end, because the answers aren't all there. We need to keep, I think it's just what makes us human. We just need to be curious. That's it. Let's not lose our curiosity with this, because there's probably more things out there that we just need to burrow our heads in and actually try to understand. But at least we know diet is, we know a huge part now that diet has been, misinformed over the last 100, 200, even longer than that, actually. But the carnivore movement, I can see is making waves here in Australia. And I'm one of the biggest things that I really want to get out there to people who are, getting into the carnivore community is that the community itself is an amazing thing. And I think you probably witnessed this over in Sydney and Melbourne when you guys did the Regenerate Summit or the conference. And you were the host, weren't you?
Yeah, I emceed it. Yeah, it was incredible. But man, that is such a good point. And I think community, as I was talking about the big piece of the puzzle, community is a massive piece to that. And having that beautiful connection, friendship, camaraderie, having people there for you and understand you. Community, I think, is massive. And I think that that obviously contributes to longevity as well.
Yes, we are tribalistic by nature. We wouldn't have been here today if we didn't have, tribes of people. We didn't do it ourselves. We didn't do it individually. We were, we evolved through speaking and communicating with each other and sharing ideas. So, man, how is it like? I'm sure, you've got lots of stories, but just in general, how was the atmosphere like? As the MC and just to be there?
Oh man, it's absolutely incredible when you get everybody who is on the same page with the same sort of goals and direction. You get a couple hundred of those people in one room, That's a powerful energy. That is absolutely powerful. And everybody's like there to learn and to help each other and to understand each other and to share and swap experiences and how much we relate to each other. It's just so much love and connection at these events. My job's to get up there and be a bit of entertainment and crack some jokes and, you know, be a bit of a reprieve when you've got an hour-long sort of lecture that can be quite dense with information and, you know, like quite, whether it's on circadian health or whatever, it can be quite dense and people are like getting bombarded by this learning experience. And so my job is to like sort of break it up. So I feel like I'm pretty lucky there where I can just bring that energy along and be silly and have a bit of a play and have a chat to the crowd and crack some jokes. So I'd probably notice it more so. I think I would shit myself more going up with an hour talk and being like, here I am going to be teaching them on why cholesterol is good for us or, you know, about mitochondrial dysfunction or something. I think that would be terrifying, but I feel it's an easy job for me to get up there and just be a bit funny. And so I always see the lightness and the beautiful, just that I see those laughing faces and the beautiful feedback coming from the position that I'm in. So I don't know if other people maybe noticed anything else, because like I know there were a few people that didn't know really anything about Regenerate or what it was about, so they were there sort of trying to understand like, what the hell is this? What do you mean you take it? Regenerative farming, circadian health, and ancestral diet all in one? Like, what the hell even is that? You know, so but all the interactions I had was incredible, man. Sydney was great, Melbourne was great, the atmosphere was amazing. People were just, you could tell they wanted to be there to learn and connect and that, and people coming up and getting pictures afterwards and that. So I just had all this beautiful energy coming at me. So I left beaming, even though here we are doing Regenerate, which is all about optimizing health. We were on multiple flights within like 48 hours. So we're getting bombarded by the radiation, the EMS, the hypoxia of flying. We will get no sleep. I bet the first night I basically slept 2 hours, maybe less. No sunshine, no grounding. Couldn't find certain like good quality food at times, like when you're in the heart of Sydney and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's a bit tough.
And drinking out of plastic water bottles, where here I'm making videos on microplastics, and I'm the one, I know how bad it is, and I'm drinking out of these plastic water bottles because there was no other options. And so it was really ironic that here we were to spread this message of health and that, but we were like living that life of just our health was getting bombarded. You know, and so it was for me, that was a good reference point of like, oh yeah, my normal routines and lifestyle keeps me at my optimal. And then when you have no sleep, no sun, no grounding, all these sorts of things, feeling that again and remembering what that's like, but also having the crowd pump you up and all that sort of stuff, which is interesting as well. But yeah, man, overall it was absolutely incredible. Like that's the third Regenerate I've witnessed and been a part of. So man, I think they're just going to keep getting bigger and better. So who knows where the next one's going to be? But man, come along and like soak up this atmosphere, because you'll leave just feeling $1 million and feeling understood that you're not alone in your health journey, that a lot of people feel they are alone, and because it's been a bit of a journey to get to where they are today, but realizing like, oh man, we've all gone through the same stuff, and that's the biggest thing, connection.
Hit it right on the spot there, man. That's I can't stress that enough. The power of community is amazing, hard to explain in words, but you just feel connected is a huge part of it. And, you guys just need to bring it up here to Queensland, man. That's what you guys need to do. I reckon bring it up here, and
I agree.
We got a big crowd here. We've got a big carnival crowd. So I'm looking for that. Simon? I'll
get in their ears, bro. I'm like, hey, Simon, hey, Max, you ever heard of Queensland?
Yeah, man. I actually spoke to Simon about it before. I thought, I'll help look for a venue for you too. if
There
that's
you
what
go.
it takes, man. Because I think even if you for anyone out there, on the carnivore diet, if you know people local around you, just meet up.
Mm.
Just meet up and have have a steak together at a steakhouse or someone's house. I think just connecting with people who are doing the same thing, you realize just how amazing this lifestyle is. Like, I've met carnivores, and every single time it's like within the first 30 seconds you're already into deep conversations and you're already well connected.
It's the most beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And I get like, so I was going to say, I get that you can connect online and social media is great, but the in-person meetups is next level, because that's where the chemistry really starts to flow, because it's a massive online community, but when you can take that, to in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got a Brisbane Carnivores group on Facebook, and we've got a meetup this weekend, I think. And
Cool.
And I'm going to Melbourne for the Carnivore Live, so that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. But Scotty, what's the future looking like for the carnivore space? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think, as we said before, you can't deny the benefits that are coming from it, and all these people healing metabolic disease, like chronic disease. They've had, like, some people 20, 30 years of having these issues, and they're getting off medication. And I'm not talking like, just gut stuff and that. I'm talking like schizophrenia and some pretty severe mental health disorders that is really helping people. And so I feel like most likely, if we can find funding and to get these studies, like, there's going to be more studies, more evidence coming out. But no matter what, whether the RCTs come out or not, it doesn't matter. People are still going to keep trying this, because word of mouth is the biggest thing, and it's catching fire. And even people that have, dude, the amount of people that I get that message me saying that they've been long-term vegans, and then they're like, I started eating meat again, and most of my health issues are resolving. Like, it's unbelievable.
Crazy, right? Crazy.
And, so it's great to having the reach, word of mouth, but even like content, and you get however many views on a video, and how many friends share that to their friends, and it just keeps slowly spreading. As I said, over these past 4 years, it's just really skyrocketed. So I think it's going to continue. I think the truth is going to come out even more. Mainstream media, like, you see them sometimes, they'll do a positive spin on a carnivore story, but it's mostly still like, oh, this is dangerous and yada, yada, yada. But as I said, you can't stop the truth. So I think it's going to keep coming out. And my mission in a lot of this is just to have people understand that carnivore is an option for you to heal. It's an option. It should be seen as an option, and it should be recommended as an option, because plant-based, vegetarian, even veganism, that's been an option in the health space. People say, oh, you need to get your health together, maybe try going plant-based. Like, that's a common thing we've all heard before, and that was just sort of an unspoken thing, that, like, you need to eat more fiber, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And like, that's an option, but it's also made people sick. But it just needs to be the same with carnivore.
Absolutely.
The stigma should be taken away of this food that we've been eating since the dawn of time, to perhaps maybe it's what we've been designed to eat, and perhaps it's a diet that's actually appropriate for our species. And that's all I want to see, man. Just that it is seen as an option, and not that it bothers me, but, like, not just have these people be like, what the hell? You're eating only meat? That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. It's not even in their realm of possibility. And what I want to see is that be sort of broken. And I think it's great, man, because carnivore now is being made fun of, just how veganism was made fun of. So I think that's a good step. I think if carnivore can get the shit, talk down to it, it's like, man, I see that as a good thing. I see it as a good thing.
I do too.
it's becoming normal, you know, and we're going to see more products pop up more, even if they aren't really carnivore products, and they've still got apple cider vinegar or black pepper or whatever the hell's in it. You know, it's still got carnivore in the packet, and people are going to see like, oh, carnivore, you know, and that's going to, if there's money to be made, people are going to jump on it. And I think it's a good thing, because more products are going to be put out there on a carnivore lifestyle, and more people are going to learn about it. And yeah, we're getting away from this propaganda and these lies that have been told to us since we were kids, man. Like, you know, I'm 34, and I know my entire life, it's always been, even though like I grew, like my grandparents had a dairy farm and all this sort of stuff, and so I watched them, you know, drink raw milk and and all this sorts of stuff. But they're also eating seed oils and margarine and all this kind of stuff. But I just think so long as we can start to see that stigma be taken away and these lies sort of washed away, that's my goal, you know. And it's, I think we've got a long way to go, but man, we're making some good traction. When you see those Google search trends of carnivore just going up and veganism going down,
love it. No, it's you know, it is looking positive, but you're right. We're not there yet, and I think it's gonna take some time until we start seeing, you know, the major changes happening in a global stage. But social media, you know, we'll take these wins. You know, these I love seeing the debates with the vegan doctors and the carnivore doctors. Love seeing them. Yeah. But just even people's stories and these sort of podcasts, you know, it's really such a huge positive step in getting the word out.
That's why it's amazing doing what you're doing, man. That's why it's incredible that you're talking to countless people with these same stories, and you're getting eyes on these stories, which I think that's the biggest part of the battle. You know, getting more eyes on this and seeing it as an option, and people aren't just spinning shit about this, you know, like people have lost a lot of weight or fixed their gut issues or joint problems doing this. And if anyone that can facilitate that, like yourself, man, we're fighting a good fight here.
That's it, brother. Thank you for that. It really justifies sort of these international calls that I've been doing. And
you're trying to get
I'm glad. Right. Yeah, I'm glad that I got a local this time. I've got a local that we've sort of matched time zones.
Yeah, dude. And daylight savings only changed just yesterday, so we've just got to the same. Yeah. So yesterday it just turned over, so we're actually on the exact same time zone by one day.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's but again, it's a good problem to have, because the beauty of it is, you're just connecting with people worldwide and different stories, different parts of the world, but same connection. Scotty, I ask this with all my guests on the show. Who are your top 3 people who have influenced you in this, you know, journey of yours? Only 3, brother. Only 3.
Top 3 is so hard, because I won't name them just yet, but I just want to give the overview. Because you hear about carnivore from Sean Baker back in 2017. You're like, what is this crazy meat diet? You hear about Michaela Peterson herself naturally finding that all meat is what healed her. She figured that on her own. That went to her dad, Jordan Peterson. Then you've got people like you know, Chafee and Simon, and then all these, man, 3 far out. I think, look, for my number one is definitely Michaela Peterson, because that's what resonated mostly with me. Nice. But on my actual, like, to understand and to, I guess, know how to do carnivore. I know it's pretty like it can be pretty simple, but like all the ins and outs. It was Simon with How to Carnivore and Dr. Chafee the content they were putting out, because they started doing that during the pandemic when that kicked off.
Yes, I did. Yes.
And so Simon approached Chafee just randomly out of the blue. They didn't even know each other, which was great. And Simon spearheaded this content and knew to get this out there. And so all the work that Chafee has done has been like, man, that's been a game changer, because he will do a video, carnivore diet for beginners, or how to know when you're not having enough fat, or do you need electrolytes on the carnivore diet? Like these really specific ones. So like I'll put those as those guys as the other two for sure.
Nice.
You know, I could go on to, you know, Dr. Kilds, or I could go on to Dr. Berry, or I could go down the path of Kelly Hogan's journey. Like there are so many people out there, but to get things started for me, those guys, but also Paul Saladino is what really hit me off into this. Even though he's not a strict carnivore, Paul Saladino was one of the biggest influences for me that, you know, and the fruit thing didn't work for me. I still had symptoms going on, and the raw dairy and that, like, even though just recently doing this honey video and I got sent all this honey, I've actually tried honey again the first time. You know, I brought the honey in, but yeah, Paul Saladino has been a massive influence for a lot of people, and it's so accessible because a lot of people go into carnivore or go into animal based thinking that's what will help them, but then they need to go that little bit extra further. But animal based was like the introduction to a stricter carnivore lifestyle. And so I can only take my hat off to Saladino, because he's doing the same thing. He's talking about the EMFs. He's talking about the blue light. He's talking about toxic fabrics. He's doing the works as well. So I think, you know, he's on that list there as well. But, you know, I could only choose three.
No, look, I say the three because, you know, you're right. The list goes on, and there's so many people out there that you could say, you know, helped you out in your journey. You're not even... You know, on the carnivore list, like you said, Jack Cruz, like he's done huge work and, you know, helping us understand, you know, all about EMFs, light, water, magnetism, that sort of thing. But I like to just, you know, showcase and I guess, you know, shout out these people because they are, you know, they've done amazing jobs. Not just in their own social media, but touching other people's lives. So that's awesome, man.
I know it's your podcast, but what are your three? Like, I'm curious. What are your top three?
All right, brother. Top three. Simon Lewis, How to Carnivore, man. So he's not just helped me in terms of understanding the carnivore diet. But I'm a part of his carnivore coaches group. And I think, you know, over the last few months, just the empowerment that he's given through this platform, but also his knowledge in how to, you know, be a person of influence and, you know, coach people on the carnivore diet. That's powerful to me. And that's helped me become more confident in myself because I've been carnivore for a long time, for 3.5 years, but it's only the last 6 months that I actually felt, hey, I can actually do this. I can actually speak to people and tell people about this way of eating. And I've got so much more confidence. You know, I would probably say he's one of the reasons why I started this podcast.
That's amazing.
So shout out to Simon.
Massive shout out to Simon because he's collaborating with like everyone and giving everybody a platform on How to Carnivore. If people haven't seen it yet, check it out because he's doing the Lord's work there, isn't he?
He is, man. He's the boss man. I call him the boss man.
Yeah.
He's really a person that I think he doesn't say much. He doesn't, you know, you don't see his face a lot in the YouTube videos, but the work behind the scenes and uplifting, you know, people amazing work. So he's there. Another one would be Professor Bart K. So when I first started the carnivore diet, he was one person that I reached out to, and he actually helped me get into the carnivore diet. So he's been a huge influence in, the earlier days, even till now. Consider him a good friend. And I'd have to say, oh man, this is harder than I thought. Yeah. It's always gonna, you always have different people. I have to shout out a good friend of mine, Carnivore Muscle, aka Jonathan Griffiths. So he's helped me in I guess the carnivore diet, and also just being a really good friend. He coached me for a bit as well, with body composition. So those are, I guess, the top three in my mind right now. But like I said, there's just too many. There's far too many.
Yeah.
Yep. Scotty's there too. Don't worry.
Dude, I'm more of the entertainment rather than the education. No, I'll educate, but comedy's my priority.
Need that. we need the entertainment because like you said, it's all very serious stuff, and like a lot of these stories, and I do, there are podcasts and conversations and videos of people, they get really into the science, but also there's a lot of emotions that come down to it too, because these are life-changing events. And to have that comedic relief is I think it's gold, man. It's gold. We need it.
Yeah, thank you, bro. It's an interesting niche that I found, health and comedy into one. It's very interesting.
Nah, it's amazing stuff, man. And you know what? We're gonna call it a wrap. I think we've covered a lot. You've been amazing, brother. Thank you so much for joining me on this, this platform, and sharing your story, your insights, your knowledge. Where can people find you?
I mean, my pleasure. I'm Scotty Brizzle across all platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, whatever it is. It's just Scotty Brizzle, BRIZZLE. I'll be on there ranting and raving in some supermarket. Simon's dubbed me as the supermarket terrorist. I'm not sure about that name, but I've got to own it, bro. But no, it's been a pleasure having a chat with you, man. And as we were saying before, it's all about this connection and community. So it's amazing to have these conversations and to have the opportunity to bring this to more eyes and that. So again, I thank you for what you're doing, brother. It's amazing.
Well, very kind words, and I really appreciate it. I just want to say to people, you need to follow Scotty if you haven't already. Man, this content, goes beyond just the comedy as well. It's very informative. So for those who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the love and support. Please follow both me and Scotty on our socials. And until then, we'll see you in the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
See ya.